Everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss the new stories we share. Let's begin. The words cut through the summer air like a blade. Go away, you're poor. I watched from across the street as a 12-year-old boy stood frozen on the steps of Morrison's department store in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. His hand still gripped the brass door handle. His knuckles had gone white. The woman who spoke those words wore pearls. Real ones, the kind that catch afternoon light and throw it back at you like a judgment. She pulled her daughter closer as if poverty were contagious, as if this boy's patched jeans and faded t-shirt might somehow infect her pristine world. My name is Daniel Reeves. I was 43 years old that day in July, and I had just watched something break inside that child's eyes. He didn't cry, that's what got me. He didn't shout or argue or defend himself. He just accepted it, like he'd heard those words before, like they were simply a truth he'd learned to carry. His shoulders dropped, his chin tucked toward his chest, and he stepped backward off those marble stairs into the blazing afternoon heat of East 4th Street. I knew that posture. I knew it in my bones, because 31 years ago I was that boy, different city, different store, same words, same devastating truth delivered by someone who saw a child's circumstances and decided they defined his worth. The memory hit me so hard I nearly stumbled. Philadelphia, 1981, Macy's department store. I was 11 years old and I wanted to buy my mother a birthday present. I had saved $7.32 from collecting bottles and mowing lawns all summer. A man in a tailored suit looked at my dirty sneakers and torn jacket. He didn't even let me through the door. "This isn't the place for you, son. Try the Goodwill on Market Street." I remember walking home that day, 3 miles. I remember the way the summer heat felt different when your heart is breaking, heavier somehow, like the air itself was pressing down on your shame. My mother never got that birthday present. Instead, I gave her a card I made from notebook paper, and I watched her cry because she knew. Mothers always know. Now, standing on this Cleveland sidewalk, I watched history repeat itself. Another boy, another summer, another soul being told it didn't belong. The woman in pearls disappeared into the store with her daughter. The door closed behind them with a soft, expensive click, and the boy just stood there. Alone, looking at his reflection in the glass, I crossed the street. I didn't think about it. My legs just moved. Some moments in life don't give you time to consider. They demand action. They reach into your chest and pull you forward before your mind can manufacture excuses. I came up behind him, close enough to see the patches on his jeans weren't decorative. They were necessary, close enough to notice his shoes had been glued at the sole, close enough to see his reflection in that store window, and in it I saw myself at 11 years old. I placed my hand on his shoulder. He flinched. Of course he did. When the world teaches you to expect cruelty, kindness becomes the surprise. "Hey," I said softly, "you okay?" He turned around slowly. His eyes met mine, and I saw it. That mixture of fear and defiance that poverty plants in children. The constant calculation happening behind those brown eyes. Is this person safe? Are they going to hurt me, mock me, chase me away? "I'm fine," he said. His voice was steady, but his hands were trembling. I didn't move, didn't crowd him, just stood there letting him measure me. "My name's Daniel," I said. "What's yours?" He hesitated. I could see him weighing the risks of giving a stranger any piece of himself. "Marcus," he finally said. "Marcus Thompson." "Marcus," I nodded. "That's a strong name. You from around here?" He gestured vaguely toward the east, toward the neighborhoods where the streetlights don't always work and the bus routes don't always run. I knew those streets, not these particular ones, but their equivalent in every city I'd ever lived in. "What were you trying to do in there?" I asked gently. "Before that woman?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Trying to buy something for my mom. Her birthday's tomorrow." My heart seized in my chest. The universe has a cruel sense of symmetry. "What did you want to get her?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wad of crumpled bills. He smoothed them out with careful hands. 1 5, 3 1, some change. "There's this perfume she likes," he said quietly. "She always stops at that counter when we walk by. She never buys it, just smells it. Then she puts it down and keeps walking." I had to look away for a moment, had to blink hard against something burning in my eyes. "She works 2 jobs, Marcus continued. "Cleaning offices at night, cafeteria lady at my school during the day. She never buys anything for herself, ever, so I thought." His voice cracked, just barely, just enough. "I've been saving since March, cutting grass, helping Mr. Patterson at the hardware store. I almost have enough." He looked down at the money in his hands, then up at the store that had rejected him. "But I guess that doesn't matter, huh? If you don't look right, you don't belong." I knelt down, not to tower over him, to meet him where he was. "Marcus, can I tell you something?" He shrugged, the universal language of boys protecting themselves from hope. 31 years ago, I was standing exactly where you're standing. Different city, same situation, same words, same feeling. His eyes narrowed with suspicion. He looked at my clothes, my pressed slacks, my leather shoes, the gold watch on my wrist. You. Doubt colored every letter. Me. I grew up in a 2-room apartment in North Philadelphia. My dad left when I was 6. My mom worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. I wore secondhand everything. I ate government cheese sandwiches for lunch while the other kids had fresh fruit and sandwiches with meat. Marcus studied my face, searching for the lie. I let him look. When I was 11, someone told me I didn't belong in a department store, that I should try Goodwill instead. And you know what I did? I believed them. You believed them. For years, Marcus, for years. Walked to a bench across from the store. Marcus sat on one end, I sat on the other. The afternoon sun was starting its slow descent, painting the Cleveland skyline in shades of amber and gold. I believed I was less than, I said. I believed that poverty was my identity, that the circumstances I was born into determined where I could go and what I could become. Marcus picked at a loose thread on his jeans. Doesn't it, though? The question hit me like a physical force, because I remembered asking that same question. Not out loud, never out loud, but in the quiet moments in the dark of my room, in the spaces between hoping and giving up. I thought so for a long time. Through middle school, I kept my head down, didn't raise my hand in class even when I knew the answers, didn't try out for sports even though I was fast enough, didn't apply for the honors program even though my teacher recommended me. Why not? Because I figured someone would just look at my address and tell me I didn't belong. Easier not to try than to be rejected again. Marcus nodded slowly, not in understanding, but in recognition. He knew this logic, he lived it. But then something happened, I continued. Something that changed everything. I paused, the memory still lived in my chest like a burning coal. Mrs. Alina Patterson, room 204, 8th grade English. There was a teacher, Mrs. Patterson. She was maybe 60 years old, gray hair, reading glasses always slipping down her nose. She noticed that I never spoke up, never participated. So one day she asked me to stay after class. I could still smell the chalk dust, still hear the squeak of her orthopedic shoes on the linoleum floor. She sat me down and she said, "Daniel, I've been reading your essays. You have one of the most brilliant minds I've encountered in 30 years of teaching, but you write like you're apologizing for existing. Why is that?" Marcus leaned forward slightly. I could feel his attention shift, his walls lowering inch by inch. I told her the truth. I told her about the store, about the man who sent me away, about how I'd learned that people like me weren't supposed to want things, weren't supposed to dream, weren't supposed to take up space. The memory of what happened next still brought tears to my eyes. She took off her glasses, she looked at me, and she said, "Daniel, someone lied to you, and I'm going to spend the rest of this year proving them wrong." Did she? She did. She pushed me into every competition, every scholarship opportunity, every program she could find. She wrote recommendation letters. She called admissions offices. She showed up at my apartment to talk to my mother when I tried to quit. I looked at Marcus, really looked at him. She saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself, and she refused to let me become invisible. "That's why you stopped," Marcus said quietly. "That's why you're talking to me. That's exactly why." We sat in silence for a moment. The city hummed around us. Cars passed. People walked by without noticing, 2 strangers sharing a bench and a history that connected them across 3 decades. "What happened to you?" Marcus finally asked. "After that teacher, after school." I smiled. It still amazed me sometimes, the path from that broken boy to this moment. "I went to Ohio State on a full scholarship, English literature. I became a writer, then an editor. Then I started my own publishing company, right here in Cleveland." Marcus's eyes widened. "You own a company?" "I do. We publish books that tell stories about people who have been overlooked, stories about resilience, about rising, about proving every doubter wrong." I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wallet, not to show him money, to show him something else. A worn, creased photograph I'd carried for 31 years. "This is me at 12, I said, handing it to him. "Look familiar." Marcus studied the photo. A skinny boy with patched jeans and determined eyes, standing in front of a brick building in North Philadelphia, looking straight at the camera like he was daring the world to underestimate him. "That could be me," Marcus whispered. "It is you. It's every kid who's ever been told they don't belong, every child who's been measured by their parents' bank account instead of their own potential." I took the photo back and held it carefully. "I keep this to remind me, every single day, where I started, what I almost let them take from me, and why I can never, ever walk past another kid going through what I went through." Marcus was quiet, processing. I could see the gears turning behind his eyes. "That woman," he said finally, "she didn't even know me. How could she hate me without knowing me?" The question of every marginalized child throughout history, the question that keeps parents up at night and breaks the hearts of teachers who actually care. "She doesn't hate you, Marcus. She fears you." Fears me. You remind her that the world isn't fair, that nice things can't protect her from uncomfortable truths, that her daughter might someday learn that money doesn't make someone worthy and poverty doesn't make someone shameful. You threaten the neat little story she tells herself about why she deserves what she has. Marcus considered this. I watched understanding flicker across his face. So it's not about me. It was never about you, it's about her. Her limitations, her smallness, failure to see what's right in front of her. I stood up and extended my hand. Now, let's go buy your mother that perfume. Marcus hesitated. You don't have to do that. I know I don't, but I'm going to, and you're going to walk into that store with your head held high and you're going to buy it yourself with your money because you earned it. He took my hand and stood. We walked back to Morrison's department store, the same marble steps, the same brass handles, the same glass doors that had witnessed Marcus's humiliation just an hour before. I held the door open for him. After you. Marcus took a deep breath. Then he walked through those doors like he owned the place, because in that moment he did. He owned his story, his worth, his right to be anywhere he chose to be. We found the perfume counter. A young woman with kind eyes smiled at us. Can I help you? Marcus stepped forward. Yes, ma'am. I'm looking for the perfume my mother likes. It comes in a purple bottle, has flowers on it. The woman's smile grew warmer. I think I know exactly which one you mean. Let me show you. She led us to a display of elegant bottles. Marcus reached out and touched one gently, reverently. This is it. This is the one she always looks at. The saleswoman checked the price tag, then she looked at the crumpled bills in Marcus's hand. You know what? She said. This one's on sale today, 20% off, just for you. She wasn't lying to be kind. She was being kind because it was right. Marcus paid for the perfume. Every dollar he'd earned, every lawn he'd mowed, every hour he'd worked was wrapped up in that small purple bottle. And when the saleswoman handed him the bag, I saw something shift in his posture. His shoulders pulled back, his chin lifted. His eyes met the world without apology. We walked out together. And there, on the steps, was the woman in pearls. She was leaving the store with her daughter, both of them carrying shopping bags. She saw Marcus. Her eyes flickered with recognition. Something uncomfortable crossed her face. Marcus didn't look away. He didn't shrink. He simply looked at her with steady eyes and walked right past. And as he did, I heard him say under his breath, I belong everywhere. We stood on the sidewalk. The sun was setting now, turning the city into something golden and possible. Marcus, I said, pulling out my business card. I want you to have this. If you ever need anything, advice, help with school, someone to talk to, you call me. He took the card and studied it. Then he looked up at me. Why do you care about some kid you just met? I placed my hand on his shoulder again, the same gesture that had started all of this. Because 31 years ago, someone cared about me when they didn't have to, and today I'm returning that gift. That's how it works, Marcus. That's how we change the world. One kid at a time, one act of kindness at a time. One refusal to look away at a time. Marcus nodded. Then he did something unexpected. He hugged me. A fierce, grateful, hopeful hug. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes, but they weren't tears of shame anymore. They were tears of possibility. He walked toward his bus stop, clutching that purple bag like it held every dream he'd ever have. And I watched him go, knowing that something had changed. Not just for him, for me too. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Mr. Daniel, my mom cried when I gave her the perfume. Happy tears. She asked where I got it. I told her about you. She wants to say thank you, so do I. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for not walking past. Thank you for placing your hand on my shoulder when I needed it most. I won't forget. I promise. Someday I'll do the same for someone else. And that's the thing about kindness, isn't it? It doesn't die with a single act. It multiplies, it spreads, it echoes through years and decades and generations. One hand on one shoulder becomes 1,000 hands on 1,000 shoulders, becomes 1,000,000 kids who refuse to believe they don't belong. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and visit the channel for more real-life stories.